for embodying him. I thought it went through the mouth, but apparently not. I rather hoped it had. The pain made my husband pass out, and he required surgery. I was so ashamed of him. I had never wished to disappear from the spot so badly in my entire life. I pray to God that I have never had to deal with anything like that again. My name is Kelly. I am 45 years old and recently acquired a handy tool called a rechargeable hot water bag. It keeps me warm for a long time and saves electricity consumption. The electricity price is just ridiculous right now. Today, I'd like to tell you about my debacle from one winter. About 10 years ago, my ex-husband Daniel, whom I'd been married for 10 years, was promoted to a director. His company was known to promote in order to seniority, and his speedy promotion was a rare occurrence. Of course, both of us were overjoyed. He had always taken good care of me, even before we were married. His attitude never wavered. He always gave me, not a million, but a dozen red roses on my birthdays and wedding anniversaries. To fulfill his wish to have children as soon as possible, we had a very intense nightlife. However, despite his ambition, he became dysfunctional amidst his busy work schedule. He had tried various potency enhancers to the tune about $10,000 US to no avail. I finally passed the 30s age mark without seeing the light of day. Since then, we had decided to take a break due to his hectic schedule and frequent relocation for his work. If he got a promotion, I assumed that things were going to change. He should have been relocated less than before and being able to delegate his work to his assistants. I turned 35 in no time, but there shouldn't have been a problem having and raising at least one child. I was secretly hoping that his promotion wasn't an opportunity to get pregnant. It was wishful thinking. He started coming home from work even later than before. He was busy to begin with and was promoted at a swift pace. I assumed he became even busier. There were a lot of people who struggled to find a job in those days. I told myself to be happy that he was able to keep busy. I tried, but I wasn't happy at all. Days had passed. Gradually, he not only came home late, but also started working on his days off. He supposedly had a newcomer who was incompetent in his team. He said he was trying to make up for the delay. I wanted to tell him to just replace him with someone better and make time for me too. I knew it was a selfish thing to say. I wondered how incapable the person was if Daniel had to work overtime and even on his days off, and yet there still was a delay every week. I was feeling sorry for him for being burdened. But then he started to respond to my questions half-heartedly. When I asked him what he wanted to eat for dinner, his response was, I was getting frustrated when it went on in that manner. Let me just serve you a roasted bat then. I even thought of harassing him. On top of that, the night he asked me to make a lasagna for him, he went out to dinner with his clients. Even though I knew he had no choice if it was work, I couldn't help but feel angry and lonely. It would have been nice if he at least ate the food I cooked the next day. He never did, since he had to work overtime and had business dinners day after day. He sometimes didn't come home on the night he said he would. It was sad for me to see my food left on the table in the morning, with the wrapping still on it. His business trips also increased, and the opportunities for us to spend time together were gradually decreasing. I started to feel that he should put more effort into making up for our lost time. One day, while I was harboring my frustration, I received a call. Daniel's name was displayed on the screen. It was unusual for him to call me instead of texting during his work hour. I picked up the phone to see what was up, and the caller identified himself as a paramedic. He told me that Daniel was being transported to a hospital for an emergency. He was being taken to a general hospital near his office, and I was asked to come at once. My husband is supposed to be in another state on a business trip today. Where is he being transported from? From a hotel in Midtown. You must have the wrong person. We have confirmed his identity. You are the wife of Mr. Daniel Robbins, correct? Yes. The number on the screen belonged to Daniel. It was unreasonable to think that the paramedic was mistaken. What did it mean that Daniel, who was supposed to be in another state, was being transported from a hotel in the city? My mind was in turmoil from the shock and the situation that I didn't understand. I had no choice but to go to the hospital. I quickly got ready and headed out. When I arrived there, I was faced with even more shocking news. The doctor told me it was an emergency surgery, and I was asked to give my consent. Is it that bad? I gasped. Then the doctor let out a small sigh and closed his eyelids. I started to freak out. I thought it was so serious that he hesitated to explain. I was turning pale when the doctor opened his mouth. There is a foreign body in your husband's rectum. I'm sorry, but I don't understand what you mean. Did he eat something strange? Well, in this case, it was inserted or entered through his anus. When I checked the CT scan, there was a glass bottle inside. I can only assume it was an accident. When I checked the CT scan, there was a glass bottle inside. I can only assume it was an accident. When I saw the bitter smile on the doctor's face, I was so embarrassed that I wanted to disappear. By the way, there was a woman by Daniel's side when he was being transported, but she refused to ride in the ambulance with him. Could you blame her? I would have left right away if I could have. When Daniel woke up after the surgery, I held a small bottle of Chinese energy enhancer that had been removed from his rectum in my hand and said, "Good morning." Kelly, why? Oh, am I in a hospital? Yes, you are. I heard you were taken from a hotel in Midtown, so I rushed here. I waved the bottle from side to side and smiled at him. Oh, really? I'm sorry to have bothered you. That's okay. But what happened to the business trip to meet your client? How the hell did this get in your body? Were you demonstrating some kind of vulgar trick? No way. That's, whatchamacallit. I fell asleep and it got stuck. I don't want to hear any of your bullshit. I've already heard what happened when you were taken. You were with the women. You were having an affair, aren't you? He slightly closed his eyes in response to my question. A few seconds later, yeah, I am. He looked back at me condescendingly. Do you have a problem with it? I got promoted exceptionally fast. Women don't leave me alone. You too would prefer a popular husband, wouldn't you? 35 in women's age is already expired, I don't feel any sexual appeal from you. You're just like my mother to me. It's your fault for not realizing it. If you loved me, you should have held the reins. The asshole ranted in defiance. I was furious at him for cheating on me and saying it wasn't his fault, on top of being carried off in such a pathetic state. It made no sense for me to be blamed. I had to wait for him in the lobby. As the wife of an embarrassing husband, I wanted him to imagine that for a moment. I had forgotten that he had been in surgery just a few hours before. I picked up a nearby vase and was about to throw it at him.
That's true. If your wife had held the tighter reins, you might not be in this situation.
The doctor appeared suddenly.
I see the same case quite often. Somehow, they manage to get things up their anus. But none of them want to tell me why.
I thought the doctor was a bit strange. He was smiling and talking cheerfully, but Daniel's face was already red as a tomato. The doctor continued.
The largest rectal foreign body I have ever removed was a crystal ball. The patient kept it in for a week or so, and then he came to the hospital when his stomach was swollen. It was an intentional obstruction, which was a very dangerous case. The anal sphincter can tolerate the size of a bottle like yours. But I would urge you to remember that anything over 6 inches in length and 3 inches in width would be dangerous.
He seems to know everything.
You look a little red. The anesthesia is still working right now, but if you get too excited, the wound will open up and you will have to have the operation again. Oh, I almost forgot. It will also put a strain on the man's vital organs. They will be useless, so please be moderate.
He had come to check on Daniel, and after he finished telling him all that, he left laughing. Daniel seems to be puzzled by his explanation. Did you whistle with the woman you were with? I heard she pushed you onto the bedside table, and you fell on your butt. There was that bottle, and you lost consciousness from the pain of it sticking up your anus. The woman you were with was very hesitant to call an ambulance. It would have been critical if treatment was delayed, you know? Thank goodness it wasn't a beer bottle. His face turned pale as a ghost. He hung his head down and seemed to be burned out in shame.
Well, you know, honey, let's talk about it. I won't cheat on you anymore.
It's not that you won't. It's more like you can't, isn't it?
There still might be a chance. We might still be able to have children.
Which era do we live in? To use a child as a sign of peace. I don't want children with you.
Wait, you are all I've got. I finally understand.
Well, that's because your manhead becomes disabled. You will have a hard time finding someone else.
I'm going to make a lot of money, you know.
Money for surgery? Maybe for more Chinese herbs?
Oh my God. I know it's my fault. Please forget me. You're thinking about a divorce, aren't you?
You're begging me only because you don't want the world to know that your divorce was due to a foreign body shoved up your anus and taken to the hospital. When I glared at him, he literally shuddered and became small. Apparently, I had hit the nail on the head. Was there a love? No, not at all. Once that happened, divorce was the only option. I searched for a lawyer that day. Before filing the divorce, I wanted to rub salt in the wound and tormented him over the things he had done to me in the past. Then he revealed that he had cheated on me with 2 other women. I didn't trust him at that point and thought he was still hiding something. I told him that if he lied to me, I would put sriracha sauce on his wound. He confessed to me that he had one more one-night stand. After the confession, he ran away from the hospital with his unhealed wound and disappeared for a while. After that, I heard that he had really become incapacitated in a true sense. The woman he was having an affair with was his colleague, and there had been rumors that the two were suspicious. In addition, there was another colleague who witnessed the woman refusing to ride in the ambulance in front of the hotel that day. The gossip immediately spread within the workplace. Then, the woman made excuses that she was coerced into a sexual relationship and revealed her history with Daniel. After explaining everything in a way that would suit her best, she then told them the reason why Daniel had been rushed to the emergency room. Not only did his reputation within the company suffer, but he was demoted and sent to a smaller branch. The woman adamantly claimed that she was the victim and was only transferred to a different department. She was a hard nut to crack. Daniel spiraled down into depression and thought about resigning, but he needed to pay me a large amount of alimony. He turned into an alimony payment machine. There was no way he could resign so easily, and he kept working in shame. On the other hand, I ran into a guy I had known since childhood. We hit it off, got married, and had many children. I'm just kidding. Something like that only happens in movies. It rarely exists in reality. I am currently enjoying my bachelorette life to the max. On Fridays, I enjoy a beer in one hand and a buffalo wings in the other. On weekends, I often enjoy a fancy dinner alone. When I am alone, I don't want to cook on my days off. When you have a partner, days off are sometimes different from each other, and you end up cooking even though you don't want to. When you are alone, you can do whatever you want. I feel like I'm going to enjoy this freedom forever. What? Does that sound too lonely? Well, it's not like I'm going to meet a rich guy who sweeps me off the ground, like in romance novel. Oh, by the way, after my divorce was finalized, I got a few certifications, and now I'm running a matchmaking agency. Should a divorcee give advice? What are you talking about? It's because I've failed once that I can find the best partner for those who come to me for advice. I'm not saying that unmarried people can't do the job, but it's definitely better to have someone who has experienced many things in life to support you. I tell my clients quite often about my own experiences as a bad example, but now those stories are laughable. They are generally surprised that such a thing really happened. It's a good icebreaker for me to build a relationship with my clients. I think that being married to Daniel was a good fertilizer for my life. It seemed that many matchmakers often say random things to their clients and force them to meet. Well, behind the scenes, many places are just a scam. I'm trying not to fall into that category. Fortunately, the number of members have increased, and the reviews have been excellent. We don't force people to get together, so we don't have a high success rate in the big agencies do. It's not a very famous one, but my passion is to find an ideal partner for my clients and lead them to a happy marriage. Some people who came to the agency are forced by their parents or public opinion and don't really want to get married. It's not right to find a partner for such a person and make him or her get married. It's totally okay to enjoy a single life like me. I would like to continue to help people find out about themselves and find a marriage that suits them. I have been through a lot, but I have found a vocation where I can be myself and shine. I think my divorce was a necessary experience in my life. I can make a joke about it and have gained a lot of vitality. Life is pretty great, even though it has ups and downs. I used to hate my life right after the divorce, but I don't feel that way anymore. I am and always will be proud of the way I live. I'll keep working hard so that my anxious clients can find happiness.